kita boleh buat juga .jsp. Pernah dengar tak PHP? Siapa sini pernah pakai PHP?
Ada.
Ada tak? So macam ni you render dalam PHP? Macam mana you render dalam Ruby? Macam mana you render dalam Node.js?
Server handle kan?
Server handle. Okay. For that, actually kita namakan dia adalah server-side rendering. Okay. Server-side rendering is that whereby that kita, every time you have a request, contoh macam ni lah. Macam ni is a simple HTML page, basic. Betul tak? So, kalau kita pergi itu yang bagus ya. Cuba bagi satu sampel tu saya pun tiba blank. Server-side rendering ni, it means that what we do with the server-side rendering is that we always fetch the information as a whole, HTML, CSS dan JavaScript, dan dihantar ke front end. So every time macam ni lah, bila saya type google.com.my, kita pergi ke Google dan Google actually tell us what is it lah. That's why like bila kita type ABC kan, contoh macam ni kan, why they can actually display the information, all that are depending on how it process at the back. Faham betul maksud dia? Kejap saya nak bagi dia elementum lah. Let me see if I have a project yang saya boleh guna pakai. This is API. Starting tag. This is very basic. Okay. Saya tengah cek yang ni tak jumpa apa benda yang saya boleh pakai. To do dashboard. I think this is Vue.js, this is client-side rendering. Saya susah pula nak bagi tahu dia punya ni. So it means that every time how it works is that they will, from the user, we go to the server, like we will send an endpoint lah, macam ni contohnya, with the data apa semua. So they do the process and they will create the HTML on the go. Kan, macam yang ini bila awak tengok tadi adalah kita create the HTML, betul lah, ini kita panggil static. Dia, macam mana kita pergi pun dia takkan berubah, betul? Kalau kita nak ubah, kita kena masukkan data tu atau kita kena update file tu. Program seperti PHP, program seperti Node.js, templating, all that, kita panggil dia adalah templating engine. Templating engine is di mana that templating engine is that they extract all the information, they pull the data and so on, all that, and dia akan what we call generate HTML on the go, dynamically, macam awak tengok dalam ni lah. So dalam konteks ni, dia sama je seperti HTML biasa, cuma file HTML tu instead of dia punya file tu adalah orang cakap static seperti ni, so to make it dynamic, dia ada generator. Okay, kita akan create, at the end of the day, we are still generating the information menggunakan anyway, kita still, we get the HTML page juga di akhirnya. Right? That's why kat sini kita, every time kalau awak submit the form, when you submit the form, when you request the form, dia akan ada what we call a page refresh. Contoh macam kita tengok pada Google tadi lah. Tapi sebenarnya dia bukanlah server-side ni, tapi you can see that bila saya tekan ni kan, oh sorry, ni bukan page refresh, dia actually this is client-side rendering. Sebenarnya kan kalau macam tu sebenarnya banyak pada website government sebenarnya. Website government dia paling banyak server-side rendering. Okay. So saya pilih negeri, Kedah. Actually awak tak perasan kot, dia mungkin laju. So dia sebenarnya bila saya select tu, the page is refresh. Nampak tak kat belah atas ni? Kan awak boleh tengok page tu refresh. Nampak tak? So setiap kali saya select any of the data, I will always send it to the server, dan the server akan bagi saya a set of HTML yang baru together dengan data-data daripada sini. Is a dynamic system, tetapi that dia always kena hantar ke server. Betul tak? Faham tak sekarang ni saya cakap ni?
Faham.
Okay. So every time kita kena kita hantarkan data ke server dan kita akan dapat balik. Bila kita dapat balik, sebenarnya kita bukan load sesuatu page saja yang bawah ni, kita actually load the whole page tau. The whole page is loaded. Macam kita refresh lah, sama je. Kalau saya refresh pun nampak tak, atas tu pun macam tak, sebab di cache daripada browser dia ada cache kan. Tapi sebenarnya kita load the whole page balik. Okay. So ini kita panggil sebagai macam saya cakap tadi adalah server side rendering. So server side rendering dia tak ada cache ke depan apa, kita always kena hantar balik ke belakang. Tapi menjadi masalahnya adalah kalau kita gunakan sistem server side rendering, kalau kita ada 10,000, ada 1 juta request masuk ke server, apa jadi?
DOS. Lambat.
Dia akan lambat, yes. So maksud dia akan queue. When you go in all this information, kita bukan masuk tu, dia ada queue. So everything like you hand request, so once you reach queue, you dapat lah. That's why lah kadang-kadang I think paling senang kita tengok, ingat tak siapa yang pernah try masa vaksin itu? I mean masa vaksin tu not really a good example, tapi earlier boleh nampak bila ramai-ramai try to access to the server kan, server jadi slow. Okay, kadang-kadang dia tak keluar data lah, data tak. Tapi on the server rendering, it's very straightforward. Contohnya kalau ada error or anything daripada data ni, contohnya awak try to search the data, dan contohnya ini macam ni wilayah, okay, kita boleh senang lah, ni saya Selangor kan 10, saya buat kerja gila, saya tukar data ni 20 kan. So maksud dia, the system will know that the data is berubah. Maksud dia data tu salah ke tidak. So daripada server kita boleh tahu sebab dia connected to the database lah. Itu nanti saya akan cover lah. Sekarang ni kita masih di dalam the concept of communication first, the concept of rendering first. Okay, so this part I think you should understand lah. This one we send out the static HTML sebab kita akan generate the HTML on the go, right? Dan macam saya katakan tadi, templating engine lah. So kita buat PHP blade big tau. Ni actually I feel like this macam a good example lah. Boleh nampak? I need a picture. Okay, so kalau dalam templating engine, kalau orang nampak kan, dia actually portion of the file lah. Nampak ni ada for each, ada copyright, ada footer kan. So apa dia buat, dia go through to the server, dan server akan generate a new HTML page yang sebelah kanan awak nampak ni kan. We are creating the HTML page on the go. So every time you send a new data, a new input, output dia akan berbeza depending on this one lah. So macam ni lah, input dia adalah Melaka whereby negeri nombor 4, dan dia akan hantar output dia adalah a new page, this one lah. So dia akan always hantar a new a long HTML page. Okay, macam kita kata tadi, benda ni adalah actually a big problem whereby dia akan bottleneck to the server lah. Tapi itu bukan saja masalah paling pada SSL ni. SSL is still a good technology, macam kita masih guna pakai lagi dalam banyak application lah, sebab dia punya information input yang masuk are always true. Faham tak? Maksudnya kalau ada error, dia terus keluar error, dia tak crashkan the server. Okay. Tetapi the problem is that everything is what we call embedded lah, integrated. Dia dah masalah ni. Contoh kalau kita nak ubah sesuatu file, kita nak ubah sesuatu ni, kita kena ubah the HTML page. Dan dia bukan real time. Kalau real time, macam saya kata Google tadi lah. So saya daripada Google ni, saya buat ABCD, contoh macam ni, ABCD, contoh macam tu kan. Nampak tak? Dia tak ada refresh ke apa. So this is actually real time. Actually this is not real time. Not really. This is SSR actually. So dia refresh. Okay. And the next one kita ada adalah client side rendering. So inside a technology web development, kita ada dua side lah. Whereby that kita panggil server side rendering and client side rendering. Okay. Client side rendering is whereby that kita render the information on the page itself. Contohnya awak tengok, kita akan look at all the information sama macam Tetapi every time you do a request, every time you do the processing, dia buat di dalam client sahaja, tak perlu pergi ke server. Right? I think this is a good example macam website ni lah, Vue.js. So as I click ke apa semua, ni bukan, sorry, dia dah masuk playground dia. Kan, ini a good example macam awak boleh tengok lah, client side rendering. So bila saya terus masukkan information apa kan, nampak tak information tu actually ada di dalam, dia tak perlu pergi ke server pun untuk update, dia automatically on the front end page itself, dia terus update. Okay, form binding kita ada banyak jugalah ni, macam you baca data kan, daripada input automatically be display. So kalau kita gunakan ini sebagai di dalam case contoh macam ni lah, kita tengok dalam Google is client side rendering. Bila saya tulis, dia tak update mana-mana, betul tak? Until lepas saya tekan enter, then the data baru datang, baru dia refresh. This is what we call server side rendering. Client side rendering is that whereby things are happening in real time, right? Bila awak tengok macam saya kata tadi lah, contohnya macam bila you masukkan suatu information, bila you submit the form, contohnya bila saya select any of this form, nampak tak dia terus real time ni keluar terus. Okay, this is what we call client side rendering. So client side rendering adalah teknologi. Server side rendering macam biasa dengan PHP, Ruby on Rails, ataupun kita ada Node.js Express, ataupun Node.js macam templating engine, Express lah banyak popular. Kita ada juga daripada few ada lah, banyak juga teknologi, Java ada, C++ ada juga menggunakan untuk server side rendering. For teknologi macam client side rendering, more popular macam teknologi macam Vue.js, React, dah dengar tu? This is good example lah. Hello, dia saya tekan enter, dia terus masuk, dia tak sampai ke database lagi, tapi dia dah masuk dulu kat UI. So these are not connected to any of the database. Okay, okay, boleh faham setakat ni?
Boleh.
So tahu tak perbezaan antara client side rendering dan server?
Jelas.
Okay, soalan saya pada kamu semua sini jelas kan? Bagus. Which one is better? Client side rendering ke ataupun server side rendering? Mana lagi bagus?
I think server side.
Better server side rendering lah.
Okay, tadi siapa cakap server side rendering? Syafiq cakap server side rendering, Nasuha cakap client side rendering.
Yeah.
Pasal lebih secure, lebih selamat.
Redcraft cakap apa tadi? Sorry?
Server side rendering dia lebih selamat sikit. Because
Server side is better lah.
nak compare password dengan pasukan, so dia tak laku di client, dia laku di dalam server, so client susah nak hack lah.
Okay. There's a good example lah, Redcraft. I'm not sure if you can change your real name, you can call your real name better rather than Redcraft. Okay. So macam tadi Syafiq cakap ada clients, Nasuha, Syafiq sama dengan Redcraft tadi lah. So Nasuha kata client side rendering. Kenapa Nasuha?
Sebab kalau data tu banyak, tak adalah masa dia lama kan nak load website tu.
Betul. Speed wise, client side rendering memang exceed more than server side rendering lah. So kita tak payah nak refresh page. Tak. If the data is small, boleh je nak refresh page. Tapi bila data tu banyak, sebab server side rendering pun ada issue whereby that the thing is macam ni lah, ini pendek. I mean, you can see this is actually very very little one. Data macam ni is very little. It's very, very small, right? But as you go along yang macam what we call this a more longer data. Example macam ni. Betul tak? There's like pages of data. Betul. So it's gonna take longer to process. But every time you click all that, they actually update the information. Okay. So back and forth of the data. Okay. To answer the question yang I tanya tadi, which one is better, server-side rendering or client-side rendering? Both of it good. Dua-dua bagus. There's one another. Dua-dua bagus. So the thing is that you need to understand where to use it. Okay. So macam kita cakap tadi, kalau if you want more interactive website, client-side rendering will be better. But if you want more secure website, yes, server-side rendering is lagi better lah. What Redcraft said just now lah. Sorry, I'm not sure your name apa tu Redcraft?
Panggil saya Cicong je, Saw lah, Saw pun boleh lah.
Sorry?
Panggil saya Saw je, Saw, SAW.
SAW, oh SAW. Okay, like what SAW said just now lah. So server-side rendering are actually secure in sense, but actually to handle on it, that's why like, but in terms of the application, you really need to understand where to use. Tapi untuk dua-dua daripada application ni, server-side rendering and client-side only handle the front end point of view. Betul tak? They only handle how the data are being loaded. It doesn't handle anything on the database. I haven't touched anything on the back end related. Right? It only handle how the HTML has been generated. Just a bit sidetrack a bit. This is actually like how we actually do all our application ke apa semua. This is the basis of it. Pernah tengok tak ni? Di our HTTP protocol. Anyone have seen this before?
Ada.
Ada? Okay. That's good. So everything that are happening, everything that are ongoing all this right, on the server side, kita every time you want to deploy an application macam tadi lah, to call this right, you need what we call a web server. Pernah dengar? So the one that actually popular one yang macam open source, kita ada Nginx, kita ada Glassdoor daripada Java, I can't remember the C++, I mean C++ Nginx lah, right? So a web server is the one that serve the website. Sebab every time you have all this file, kalau you deploy this exactly at the location, I still information. Because you need the web server to serve it. Sebab the web server will be the one yang generate all of this. Okay? So all the requests need to be on the web server. Dia tak boleh, you ambil file ni, letak dalam komputer, no, it doesn't work that way. Right? So let's look a few example for this. Contohnya macam SPS ni lah. Kalau kita pergi inspect, actually a lot of things is actually happening on the inspect one lah. So kita pergi network, kita refresh page. Sorry, this. Well, oh ini dia dah actually they already format the information pun. Dia tak nampak dari benda ni daripada zero actually. Oh yes, here. So this is the one. See, the HTTP request is a get HTTPS public MOE, things like that, right? This is the header. Same thing is as the one yang you tengok tadi lah. Sorry, put this down. Sama dalam ni betul lah. Get, dia punya endpoint hujung. That with the data, all that. So when you call up to the server at the back, right? Bila pergi ke server ke belakang, they will return all this and they will what they gonna return? Server teka. Apa dia return? What is actually inside this data part? Siapa boleh cuba? Tak ada. Basically, sorry, this is payload. This is what the data part. Dalam data tu, they actually pass all this. So they actually pass the HTML file. So every time you generate a HTML file like kan, contohnya kita generate HTML patch, HTML file like this, dia bukan exactly dihantar macam tu. They need to go through a medium what we call they need to go through what we call HTTP protocol for it to be generated. Okay, is it too technical ke apa yang cakap sekarang ni?
je.
Ke belum technical lagi?
Faham lah.
Yes, eh? Okay, so as you can see that this is how we deploy any of a web-based application. We always need a web server. So inside a web server, some of you guys daripada diploma ke apa, XMPP pula. Dah dengar Abdallah ni?
Benar.
So adakah ini web server?
I think so.
Think so? No. Actually, a lot of people dalam university, when you do a final year project or project, you use XAMPP. Then a lot of people say XAMPP is the web server, XAMPP is the database, XAMPP is basically everything lah. Tapi actually it's not. XAMPP is a package. So macam you buat installation, dalam tu what we call, they have a Apache server, they have a MariaDB database, and they have an interpreter for PHP. So these three items dia ada dalam tu. Right? So when you install XAMPP, they automatically three items. Right? So if I say that XAMPP is just a package, so apa yang ada dalam tu adalah Apache server. Remember I said just now the engine Apache? Apache is one of the web server. Right? So that's why like bila you buat application using XAMPP or an application, you need to put at the correct folder. Macam saya kat dalam ni, saya dah set the web server tu kat dalam folder nama site. Sorry, salah. Should go here. So anything on my game apa semua saya letak dalam satu set, sebab website ni adalah web server for my computer lah. That's how I set it. So how you set it is that when you install all this application, it depending on that lah. Okay, clear? So since I dah clear on that part, so nowadays like if you want to work in the industry, bila you nak bekerja, when you want to find work, when you learning also, the term that you always hear is about front end and back end. Betul tak? Ataupun full stack. Ada pernah dengar kan ayat tu selalu kan, front end lah, back end lah.
Betul.
So apa benda tu? What is the front end? What is the back end? What is full stack? Then kalau awak tengok apa yang saya present tadi, basically everything are together. Betul tak? Macam static. Mana ada back end, mana ada front end? So apa term ni? Why people are calling front end, people calling back end, and people calling a full stack? Why? Anyone can just try? Saya?
Front end to user interface.
Front end untuk user interface. Okay, so in a way. Okay. Then back end?
More to database.
More to database. I will assume logic and database lah. Am I right? So why you need to separate both of it?
Scope.
Any idea why you need to separate of it? Oh, by the way, for anyone didn't know, most of the time we have a front end developer, back end developer, and if you can do both, we call it a full stack developer. I mean, not full stack. Full stack is where you can do a DevOps as well lah. Dan satu lagi DevOps. Tapi itu lain lah. Okay. So, kenapa kita kena pecah? I mean, if you are talking about front end saja, senang ke kerja je? Tak ke? Or if you are handling on the database, actually very easy je. Then why you need to separate it out?
Pastinya structure, programming structure tak sama, and more to security kot. Security kan.
More on the security lah. I mean, just now you actually said that server side is actually more secure. What? So server side is actually integrated front end and back end. By the way, dalam this case is that I think security is not an issue lah, because this is how we manage the data pun nanti kemudian hari, right? So the question is that why you have a separation?
Front end works on the UI UX, and back end mostly works on the logic.
Okay, but if you are just working on the UI UX, does it seem easy?
I think
Benar.
saja nak senangkan programmer. So ada satu programmer dia khas untuk buat front end, yang satu programmer lagi dia khas untuk buat back end saja. So lebih senang lah nak teamwork.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay. Well, actually that's true also at the same certain perspective lah. Tapi then it's not about make the life of programmer easier, because as I understand, or in 20 years, in 15 years in the industry, right, there's no such thing as people want to make the programmer happy.
So
Because becoming a programmer is just torturing. Okay. So, actually, right, because of the increase of a complexity, that's the answer, right? For the front end and the back end, it's the increase of the complexity. Everything become very complex nowadays, right? So that even for the front end itself, let me just show you an example. And then you tell me, is it easy or is it hard? Yeah, sorry, GitHub Room. It's one of the open source project that I do lah. If you want to use it, you can actually take it from here also. FE Kernel. Okay. This is actually an LMS system, right? This is all the file for you to create the projects, right? So it means that for HTML part, it's just this. Alright? Senang kan ni? Simple, pendek, cantik, right? But at the back, you also have what we call a caching system, a routing system to routing the data. Because that most of the thing nowadays are a client side. Betul tak? Macam you nak chatting, you want to chat. When you want to chat, like bila you macam pakai WhatsApp, there's no refresh. Pasal tak? If you try to have an online chat, I'm not sure how to do an online chat. Start chatting. See, first of all, I'm not sure what website is this. I just randomly. So if it's weird, I'm sorry lah. So it become very complex. So the front end need to handle how the data are being loaded and how the data need to be displayed. See, you need to log to the system. Sorry, I'm just gonna go to chat, I think. So this is a chatting. Okay, so you see that all this information is a real time. Betul tak? See, coming in, hi, how are you? I don't know what is it, hello, the conversation of this, right? So this is a real time. So this doesn't go directly to the server. Dia tak pergi pun masuk ke belakang. Everything happen on the front end saja. This is the client side lah. So it become very complex. So into front end, then dia boleh handle all this caching system, all this, it become very complex. To the point that dia tak ada masa nak cantumkan dua-dua side. If you need to do both side, you consume more time in the development. Okay? That's why they start breaking things up. Even for back end pun, kalau you kata back end is actually senang, actually back end is not only database, actually more than that. Actually I ada dalam ni, I think from my previous slide ada banyak juga. So let me share a bit daripada on this one. So you need to have what we call like layering system kat dalam back end lah. How the data be layered for different structure. How the data need to handle. Then inside that also that dalam back end also you actually have communication between server to server. Kan? Contohnya you nak ambil data from one server to call a special things like that. You need to do a load balancing juga. Then you need to do like load balancing. You need to do a message bus. Database is just one part of it. Nampak tak? It's very small part of it ni. So it become more and more complex. So to make things easier, so they need to separate it out. Kena pecah kepada dua lah, front end and back end. So front end dia ada framework di sini, back end ada framework. But the question is that just now, like if all the application are integrated, right? Contohnya macam awak cakap tadi, if everything is sent by HTML and CSS to the front, then back end, how we get the data from the server? Macam ni. How do it? Macam mana kita nak ambil data daripada back end tanpa ada HTML? So it means that kita nak pull data HTML. Okay, dah. Good. We have the HTML, but the HTML is empty. Betul? So right now is that we need to load the data yang corresponding to it lah. Macam ni. Contohnya awak ada to-do list. You need to load data dari to-do. Sekarang ni dalam to-do kita boleh load my one ni. Right, macam ni. But you need to load the data of what are the to-do list that need to be that you need. Okay. That's why how these two are going to communicate on each other. That's why at the moment there's actually a few technology around, we have it, but the most popular one is actually a REST protocol. I'm sorry, I can't remember the long word for it. REST protocol is actually for representation, something like that. I can't remember. Let me just Google lah. Masukkan senang lah. Representative state transfer. So it means that when you send the data in and out from the server to the user, you are not sending a HTML page macam tadi. Macam tadi saya tunjuk, you actually got a HTML page, betul tak? Ini you got a HTML page, kan? So right now, if let's say that you are actually working with a server, you are actually sending only a portion of the data aja. Right? So example that this is the tools that you use masa development lah. Actually, I should show this from the beginning, daripada awal tadi. Okay. Okay. So kita bagi example tadi kan. So kalau saya, if I take a data daripada SPS macam ni kan. So if I enter, it's always get. Right? The protocol is always get. So, untuk browser, you always use get. Untuk post, actually they have a lot of protocol method lah. Right? Tapi untuk kita retrieve a data atau dalam kes ni retrieve a web page, kita always get protocol lah. So nampak ni? Pretty, it means that this is what be written from the server. It's actually a HTML. Okay? Tapi how JSON looks like is that I think I use REST countries lah. Country will be good, right? So whereby that kalau kita menggunakan API adalah kita hanya take a portion of it. We only take the data part of it. Let's take one. Okay, macam ni kan. Actually I can post it here also since it's the same thing we get. Tapi I actually want to show it dalam call ni. What we have is that one of it is that this is a format that data transfer. Kita ada banyak juga. Tapi the most popular one is actually a JSON. JavaScript Object Notation. Right? So this is how the format looks like lah. Right? So as you can see here, there's no HTML. Kan? Nampak tak? Actually, korang nampak tak ni? Can you guys see? Ni.
Nampak.
Okay. So this is what we call JSON. Sorry, you guys need to respond back to me sebab saya tak nampak Discord. I'm using my MacBook. Okay. So So this is how the data are being transmitted from the front. Maksudnya, when we request the information, we don't request the HTML lagi dah. Macam apa? Yang ni we get the whole HTML. Betul. If let's say that right now, if I change this to 10 just now, depending, I'm not sure what country is it all that, the data pun berubah agak, tapi dia send you the whole HTML. Muat turun lah, apa semua ni sama, tapi bila kat tengah-tengah ni berbeza tak? Tengok daerah Sepang lah, sekolah rendah and so on, all this. Okay? This is, kalau dalam ni, you only get a portion of the data. So how you can, so this is the function of a client-side rendering. Maksudnya we take up the data, dan kita format it dalam HTML tu. Macam ni lah. So if you can extract out the to-do list tadi, then kita boleh display balik data ni lah on the client side. So by doing this, we actually reduce a lot of the information being transmitted, right? Information are being called based on that je lah. Actually this to answer also daripada call just now. So said that about security part. REST API or client side or server side both secured, depending on how the programmers do it lah. I mean, if the programmer experience or the one that know, they actually both of it are secured, non-hackable. Okay, so this is how the JSON server REST API function. Okay, so it's actually to complement a client side rendering. Faham tak sampai sini?
Faham.
Okay, so there's two ways you can do it. One, you actually read back the HTML page, there are process HTML page. Another one, you just return the data that you need only. So dari situ kita boleh process more things inside there. So this one I just cover it very quickly is that because saya lagi 3 minit, so I just cover it very quickly that in terms of REST API, all this is stateless. Backend is stateless. It means that they cannot save a data. When you pull all this, right, without a database, you cannot have all this data. Betul tak? So database is actually a persistent layer, so it means that every time you do all this one that I showed from the front to the back, it's just a what we call rendering engine. It's just a transaction. It's a communication, right? But what happened is that when you talk database is where we store the data. So every time you do interact with the server, kita interact dengan server, kita buat apa, so data are being stored inside there depending on how we control it. So for back-end developer, they are mostly controlling it lah. Because I'm not saying right now database itself is a back-end job. Front-end pun the back-end also lah. They actually have a few database that are able to work on the front-end side. Right? So some of the popular one, the SQL, the non-SQL database, depending on what you need lah. You have a Redis one untuk key value database. So it's actually a persistent layer. Very basic. Any database is a persistent layer. It's just for us to save the data. Kan? Bila you request, okay macam ni, you very simple is that when you have a to-do list. When I said Iqbal, what going to happen is that this one, Iqbal, the data of Iqbal going to send to the server, right, as a JSON API, as a request. Let me show you. I'm not sure. Okay, you can see from here lah. So it means I'm sending the data back to the server, right? So I'm sending back the data. You can send a data back to the server. So the server will update the data inside the database. Okay. And back and forth lah. Then when we pull in the data from the okay. So that's database. Actually, it's a very simple one. Database is just a layer. How we store the data, then how we store the data lah. Basically, there are few types also for different use case. So, yep, I think that's all from my side for now. Anyone have a question?
Contohlah kalau kita nak request dekat satu-satu website tu, kita nak extract dia punya index HTML dia. Macam contoh kan, setengah website dia tak tunjukkan dia punya domain dekat link tu kan, dia tak ada index HTML. So dia macam mana dia respon dia tu, HTML tu dia hantar ke server. So macam mana kita nak extract HTML dia punya coding tu?
Adakah awak maksudkan something about crawler, awak nak pass data daripada HTML tu, awak nak extract data daripada HTML.
Ya, so macam website tu kita tak nampak dia punya HTML kan. Kita nak tengok sebab kita nak check dia punya coding tu. So that we can intercept ke apa ke tu like that lah.
Okay, I think the nearest is daripada yang awak tak boleh baca tu macam Google lah. Nampak tak? Google pendek dalam ni. Ni yang awak masukkan. Betul tak?
So macam kita nak tengok dia punya satu website HTML tu, kita inspect je lah, macam tu lah.
One way of you nak tengok adalah inspect lah. Tapi nowadays with the advancement daripada new tools, new technology kan, it's actually a bit hard for us to baca data direct lah, sebab kebanyakan daripada information tu are be stored in JavaScript dalam ni.
Oh.
So JavaScript tu yang initiate. So maksud apa dia buat adalah dia tak generate the HTML kat luar, dia guna HTML. Sebab awak kena ingat tadi ada 3 benda yang browser boleh. Satu adalah HTML, CSS dengan JavaScript. Betul tak? So dia store dalam JavaScript. Sebab JavaScript ni dia control the logic. Menjawab soalan tak?
Jawab.
Okay. Lain ada siapa-siapa lagi? Actually bila tanya soalan boleh bagi tahu nama lah. Nak refer bagi nama awak. Okay. Ada siapa apa nak tanya lagi? Tak ada soalan?
Satu game, boleh tak kita pasal macam skop kerja tuan lah, apa yang macam tuan kena buat kat tempat kerja macam tu. Simple lah, secara simple. Macam sajalah cerita.
Oh, ini macam berkongsi cerita Ini mau tak cukup 2 jam ni. Okay.
Dah curhat macam mana full stack ni kan.
Mesti nak tahulah menarik ke tidak kerja programmer ni lah. Itu ke maksud dia?
Kod lah dia macam banyak kerja website ke ataupun banyak kerja database ke, macam tu lah.
Okay.
Ikut kepada pengalaman tuan.
Okay, sebenarnya dia bergantung kepada what level you are lah. Saya basically head of engineering. Maksud dia untuk technical from company's point of view, as a what you call this, technical kan, maksud dia as a technical saya paling tinggi kat company, right? So I'm basically directly bawah CEO lah, senang cakap macam tu kan. So for my side, I actually handle a lot daripada system architecture. Pernah dengar tak tu? Okay, normally is like for a fresh grad ataupun orang yang baru masuk, dia akan start dengan programming lah. So you type apa semua macam biasa lah. You buat database, you buat front end, you buat back end and so on, all this kan. So macam saya lebih banyak what we call is the one yang design the whole system. Contohnya, macam senang cakap macam kerja saya is that, okay, macam biasa awak dengar adalah, tadi kita cerita adalah satu server je tak? Benda ni satu server je kan? Macam ni, satu server keluar masuk je, betul tak? Macam dalam company saya, server yang kita running ada lebih daripada 10. Whereby semua different use case, different kegunaan. Right? So jadi saya lah yang controlkan, okay, so apa, macam mana kita nak communicate server ni kepada server B, macam mana server B nak bercakap dengan server C, right? Dan dari server C kena return data kepada mana, sekian-sekian semua lah. Dan macam mana data tu kena keluar, right? So kebetulan pada company saya sekarang ni, kita banyak what we call play around with blockchain technology pun sekarang sebenarnya, right? So the highest level for a programmer, contohnya okay, kita macam saya rasa awak familiar dengan nama programmer, betul tak? Orang yang kerja type apa semua kan. Atas sikit daripada programmer kita panggil senior programmer, betul tak? Senior programmer tu maksud dia awak dah boleh independent lah, boleh type dengan sendirinya. So atas daripada senior programmer, what we call tech lead ataupun team tech lead lah. Tech lead tu maksud dia kat bawah you ada team. So you handle got the requirement apa, you kena distribute the task depending on that lah. Dan once a while you still kena code juga, masih sama lagi. So atas daripada tech lead tu you akan ada project manager, something like that. No. In terms of that one is a project lah. Tech lead akan handle all that. Atas daripada tech lead tu you akan ada what we call few others layer lah kat atas tu. Macam kalau bukan management maksud saya lah tu. Atas daripada tu adalah system architect. Sebenarnya dalam mana-mana company Kalau pernah tak awak mendengar nama sistem arkitek kat dalam Google ke, dalam Facebook ke? Pernah dengar tak?
Aku dengar tapi tak tahulah benda apa kan.
So, senang cakap, gaji sistem arkitek kat mana-mana IT company adalah paling tinggi, lagi tinggi dari CEO. So maksud dia awak tahu lah responsibility dia macam mana. Kalau dia lagi mahal dari CEO, especially tech company lah. Untuk tech company, paling tinggi adalah sistem arkitek. Sebab sistem arkitek akan decide sistem tu akan jadi ke, sistem tu akan crash ke tidak, sistem tu akan boleh guna ke tidak, kan? So contoh macam kita tengok macam mana Google, macam mana kalau awak kat mana-mana kat seluruh dunia, so dia kena design lah sistem tu supaya dia boleh cater macam tu. Speed dia sama juga mana-mana. Contoh-contoh lah sekian. So itu kerja saya kat dalam company ni. Actually in roughly macam tu lah kot. Jawab soalan tak?
Boleh lah.
Cisco
Banyak.
dia tak coding sangat. Dia macam nak design macam mana how the website works lah.
Yeah. So normally under me I have a lot of programmers lah. So it means that I will send out to the programmers to do the work pun. So maksudnya kalau awak boleh code tu minimum untuk masuk ke being a programmer, minimum kena code. So basically macam kalau awak tak boleh code tu adalah different position, tapi as a programmer punya pathway, minimum awak kena code. So when you say you can code, you are not senior level tu lagi power tak. You're just a coder. So it means as you go, so the highest is a system architect. Selalunya orang takkan jual sistem arkitek ni. Sistem arkitek apa yang paling lama kerja kat situ, sistem arkitek kat situ lah. Yang bertahun-tahun kerja kat situ, yang berpuluh tahun ni. Yahoo punya sistem arkitek pun sampai sekarang tak berhenti Yahoo lagi. That's how long is it lah.
Kiranya dia kawal whole system lah. Yang macam kalau coding ke akan rujuk kat dia juga. Kira sistem pasal database akan rujuk kat dia juga. Macam tu lah.
Contohnya kan macam kita kata tadi, kita ada macam jenis database. Kita ada NoSQL, kita ada Redis, kita ada SQL, lepas tu ada SQL pun ada Postgres lah, ada MariaDB lah, macam-macam kan. So sistem kita kena decide mana database mana nak pakai. So macam saya, kita orang kat dalam projek ni kita ada pakai satu SQL, Postgres ada pakai juga, Redis ada pakai, 2, 3, 4, Mongo ada pakai. Rasa tak silap saya kita ada pakai dalam 4 jenis database lah berbeza for different use case. Tapi projek sama. Tapi database tu dia integrated sekali jalan, tetapi dia penggunaan dia berbeza-beza depending.
Faham?
So sebenarnya kalau itu saya tak masukkan tu, contohnya sekarang kita teknologi pun kita dah ada what we call microservices. Itu lagi pening kepala tu. The deployment, DevOps semua, tu ada saya lah. Saya kena fikir lah server mana nak masuk, berapa capacity server tu kena buat. Tu kerja saya lah.
Ya betul. Saya belajar Java pun dah pening lah.
When I started as a Java developer. I started as a Java programmer. Right? I mean, I tak boleh kata I Java programmer. Sorry. My first job, macam kerja pertama saya kerja pakai C++. Lepas tu halfway tu saya start upgrade dan saya start pakai what we call saya buat mobile development. Maksudnya lepas tu halfway tu saya tukar daripada C++ tu saya masuk ke dalam apa nama ni, ke dalam Android development kan. Okay, just to be brief on this part right, macam saya banyak orang buat app ke apa kan, my experience wise banyak lebih kepada what we call experimental project. Betul tak, experimental project? Contoh some of my experience tu saya ada buat macam autonomous car kan. So saya kena belajar arkitek untuk autonomous car lah. Arkitek macam mana nak jadi kereta tu jalan sendiri supaya orang dalam tu hidup lagi lah. Saya ada buat autonomous drone, dia buat balik mapping engine, buat balik Google Map. Ada. Itu semua bawa experimental project lah. So roughly macam tu lah.
Dah complicated lah.
Dah complicated.
Dah dengar tu dah Evan dah tak apa.
I mean, the thing is that everyone needs to start from somewhere. Betul lah. Saya pun start sama with you guys. So it's just that my interest pathway tu banyak explore lah. I banyak explore. I do a lot of projects. I in and out a lot of project juga. Kan? So sebenarnya sebagai programmers ni, my advice is that if you want to be a programmer, jangan baca, buat. So walaupun HTML ke, PHP ke, apa ke, ambil keyboard type. Kalau selagi tak type kat keyboard tu, selagi tu tak pandai. Dia macam mana, sebab dalam universiti, diploma ke, degree ke, politeknik ke, tak kisahlah mana-mana, kita banyak di-train dengan teori banyak. Betul tak? Especially that programming. Sebab lecturer pun sebenarnya tak boleh catch up dengan programming. Belum. Banyak programmer, lecturer bukan programmer. Yang ada tu bersyukurlah. Ya, ya?
Certificate.
Ya, so?
Saya pergi nak ambil certificate je, semua projek sendiri.
Betul lah, lebih kurang lah. At this point, I tak ada, for me right, I don't have a certificate. I mean, I have my degree in programming, but I have no PhD ke, master ke, certificate semua I tak ambil. But my project I've been recognized to the point that internationally recognized lah every time I do the project. The last project I buat macam autonomous drone tu apa semua, we managed even to go to sampai ke apa nama tu, sampai ke Singapore, been validated by MIT. So sebenarnya programming ni is not about certificate pun. For me personally, it's not about certificate. The more certificate you dapat pun, you will never improve. It's about doing it. Faham tak? It's like you can take a certificate of autonomous car, but you never done an autonomous car. Kelakar tak? So the main thing is just doing it. Buat je.
Dulu Tuan kat U belajar course apa?
Software engineer dulu.
Oh, belajar course software engineer lah.
Saya memang software engineer by study. Tapi most of my programming skill apa semua dapat bukan daripada uni. I think I can say 98% daripada knowledge yang saya ada sekarang datang daripada uni pun.
Uni tu belajar programming language sikit je lah.
Sebab kat uni is very specific. Sebab I mean you still learn macam biasa kan. Tetapi why I get good is because I keep on doing it. Saya sentiasa buat. Even masa kat dalam uni, orang bagi assignment suruh buat A, saya pergi buat A, B, C, D. Macam faham maksud tu? To the point that saya pernah buat assignment tu macam macam tu. So the idea is that you need to keep doing it. Itu saya kata, that if you want to be a programmer, just type. Salah ke betul ke tu secondary. I mean, I'm here if you have any problem ke boleh tanya. Tetapi the main thing is just type je. Biar jadi masa memori. Okay.
Faham.
Ada soalan lagi?
Tanya.
Ya, boleh.
Kalau nak create satu macam custom HTTP, memang nak kena ada server sendiri ke? Sebab kalau contoh kita dah ada HTML sendiri, kita nak publish, normally dia akan random generate HTTP. Link tu dia nak custom.
Domain. Maksud awak Syah, domain ke apa?
Nak macam orang tahu kita punya website. Sebab kalau nak publish setakat ni tahu sebab publish random generate je lah. Dia cara random sendiri. Dia punya
dia macam yang awak nak tahu macam google.com.my macam tu lah.
Yes.
Itu kita panggil nama tu domain. Okay. So kalau kita nak pakai domain, first of all awak kena ada dua benda lah. I mean nowadays ada banyak cara lain. Nanti mungkin one of these days Ben boleh buat kelas macam ni, you can deploy to github.io. Saya rasa awak pun dah deploy github.io, betul tak?
Dah.
So macam github.io, bila awak buat point, awak boleh beli domain awak dan awak boleh connectkan dua, boleh juga. So nanti bila orang cari tu, dia tak pergi github.io, dia pergi syafiq.com.my. Tapi dia point tu that, so maksudnya domain ni dia macam address. So your address is syafiqri.com.my, tapi your server kena kat dekat mana. So dia kena point to the server. Address tu kena point to the server. Jawab soalan tak?
Faham.
So kalau awak nak cari macam mana nak beli domain, nanti boleh tak ada godaddy.com ke, tapi semua tu berbayar lah. Semua tu bayar bukan pada saya ke apa, kena bayar kepada we call DNS punya aggregator ni lah, domain aggregator.
Guna komputer sendiri untuk buat server pun boleh kan?
Saya,
Guna komputer sendiri untuk menjadikan server pun boleh kan?
you can use your own computer, boleh, tetapi the thing is that you are not, okay, the problem is that macam kita punya home computing atau home internet sekarang adalah what we call dynamic IP tau. So IP tu berubah-ubah. I heard nowadays that they start to do a fixed IP untuk satu location, tapi belum lagi lah. So banyak berubah. So bila you ada address kan, you point to that IP kan, tapi bila IP tu berubah, tak jumpa lagi lah. So that's why kalau kat rumah pun you kena ada what we call a fixed. So kalau you want to get a fixed IP, then that about RM600 or RM800 punya package you kena beli lah. So it's more expensive lah. Tapi to answer your question, yes, it's possible, tapi you need to do the work of pointing it to the server lah. So bila tiba-tiba you reset, you kena letak balik lah. Reset, you letak balik lah. Okay, any other question?
Okay, ni lah soalan random lah.
Boleh.
Memang suka search guna CMD lah.
Apa macam saya tadi ya?
Search file apa semua tu. Tak cari guna graphical lah, graphical interface lah.
Itu lah tu.
Oh.
Macam guna Linux pula, tengok padahal Windows lah.
Oh tak, saya pakai
File dia tu.
saya pakai Mac kat sini. Tapi sebenarnya kalau saya pakai Windows pun saya pakai terminal juga.
Biasanya.
Saya dah terbiasa.
Mac dengan Windows sama ke dia punya command?
Lain. Actually, as a programmer, being macam you code with Windows ke apa, okay tau. Tapi at my level, most of application and tools dia ada dalam Linux, right? So most of it is in Linux. So normally kalau you ada Ubuntu ke apa, that one better lah. So kalau you boleh pakai itu, then you can actually easy to manage. Sebab kalau pakai Ubuntu or Linux, dia ada graphical juga, tapi lagi laju pakai terminal lah. Sebenarnya for me, I dah biasa pakai terminal sebab apa, laju tau. For me to navigate around, nak find things that I want find, pakai terminal tu lagi laju lah. Alright, so I dah terbiasa. I dah tahu file tu file apa, mana nak cari. So even kalau I pakai Git ke apa semua terminal. I tak pakai bukan tak reti pakai graphical, it's just that tak selesa. Saya macam slow. So then the difference is that bila you pakai Windows, most of the tools tu dia tak compatible sangat tau. So jadi kan end up you kena pakai Linux. Tapi problem with Linux, kalau macam laptop dalam Linux, dia are not, dia punya bateri tu tak berapa sangat lah. Dia drain bateri tu kuat kan. Dia tak ada macam Windows ataupun MacBook whereby that they can what you call this saving lah kan, apa benda lah. You can actually have a battery saving lah, betul tak? So you boleh pakai lama lah, right? So end up, that's why I duduk tengah-tengah pakai MacBook lah. Macam tu cara dia. Sebab MacBook is actually, the OS is Linux. Dia ada interface cantik.
Tak boleh
Yes.
guna virtual machine lah. Virtual machine.
Okay. Virtual machine dalam my cloud or my servers, I pakai virtual. Tapi on my computer I tak pakai lah sebab dia makan memori banyak kan.
It's true.
Paling minimum pun I pakai Docker. So kalau you pernah dengar nama Docker adalah a virtual machine juga, a container base, right? Not like a virtual machine, it's a container lah, but something similar macam virtual machine. So I use Docker a lot juga lah. Itu pun dah makan memori banyak. Okay, any other questions?
And that's all.
Itu saja.
Ah,
Actually you guys join kat di sini apa semua. I think next time kalau you ada question ke, ada soalan ke apa, boleh post ya. Sorry, I create. Boleh post kat dalam ni lah, or you just PM me or DM me kat dalam ni. So going forward we should have, if you want to ask more in depth ke, nak tanya opinion ke, atau nak tanya in term of programming ke, guidance ke, either you can ask me or you can find Syafiqah lah, right? So insyaAllah kita boleh tolong bantulah di mana yang kita boleh bantu. Okay, rugi tak belajar daripada saya, malah percuma kan. Okay, I think Syafiqah, terima kasih banyak. Then Syafiqah, back to you. Terima kasih semua.
Terima kasih Cik Iqbal.
Dan
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Cik Iqbal.
Terima kasih semua. Asal best sampai 2 ID lah ni.
Sebab saya kat luar.
Ben, pakailah baju Ben, nak nono.
Motor. Saya saya.
Aduh, this one dah matikan Facebook.
Facebook tak live pun.
Tak ada Facebook live ke?
Din tak sempat buat.
Oh, tak sempat buat Din.
Din dia meninggal.